Midnight, November 26th, 1857. The dining hall stands heavy with silence, broken only by the faint hiss of candle flames. A long oak table stretches into the shadows, silver cutlery scattered like fallen soldiers. Wine pools on the wood, dripping. To the floor in slow crimson streaks. A chair crashes backward. Someone claws at their throat, breath rasping, desperate. Another gurgles, slumps forward, cheek pressed into turkey grease and gravy. The air reeks of roasted meat, bitter smoke, and the metallic sting of blood. From the darkness, a whisper cuts the silence. She did it. Black screen, title card. Georgia, 1857. Cotton fields stretch wide as oceans, their white tufts glinting under the pale sun. The soil is black with sweat, watered by blood. Chains rattle from the slave quarters, faint against the chatter of cicadas and the whistling of overseers. Thanksgiving looms, not for the enslaved, but for the masters who feast on labor not their own. Inside the Bellamy mansion, the air is thick with roasted meat, sugared pies, and smoke from the great hearth. A boy lingers near the doorway, restless. His slingshot dangles from his fingers. Jonas Weaver, overseer's son, 14, sharp-eyed, lips always wet from chewing straw. He squints at the servants scurrying about, his gaze darting to Harriet, the tall woman who moves without a word. Papa says this'll be the grandest supper yet, Jonas mutters, voice cracking with the stretch of youth. 12 of them coming, 12 masters sitting at this very table. From across the room, a frail figure hums a lullaby, the tune cracked and trembling. Ellen May, the quiet house servant, polishes silver till her hands blister. A broken comb pokes from her apron pocket, teeth missing, as fragile as she is. Boy, she whispers, her voice low like wind through reeds. Keep your tongue still. Walls hear more than they should. Jonas grins, rocking on his heels. Ain't no harm in talking, Ellen. Besides, I like to watch. I see things, hear things. Ellen doesn't look up, her rag circling the fork, catching light from the fire. And sometimes seeing things gets folks killed. Jonas glances back to Harriet, who stirs the pot without lifting her eyes, her face shadowed by the glow. She don't sing, Jonas says, tilting his head. All the others hum or pray under their breath, but her, quiet as a grave. Ellen's hands still for a moment, then move again, slower. Best not to wonder why. Quiet women carry storms. The boy leans closer, lowering his voice. Papa says she's got fire in her veins. He says you watch that one, or she'll cut your sleep short. Ellen finally looks at him, her eyes tired, the lullaby caught in her throat. Fire burns both ways, Jonas. Best hope you're not standing too near when it sparks. From the kitchen doorway, Harriet shifts, the wooden spoon tapping against the iron pot. She doesn't speak. Her eyes pass briefly over Jonas. Then Ellen, dark, unreadable. Jonas feels a shiver, though the hearth burns hot. He kicks the leg of a chair, the sound sharp. Just wait, he says mostly to himself. Something's coming, I can feel it. The lullaby resumes, faint, broken. Ellen hums while polishing the last fork, silver catching the candlelight like a blade. Outside, the fields are silent, heavy, waiting. The past comes in fragments, songs, scents, and the echo of chains. Harriet remembers the smell of pine smoke, the feel of her mother's fingers combing through her hair, the soft hum of a lullaby that wrapped her against the night. Hush, little bird, don't you cry. The sky will open and you will fly. The voice fades into screams. She was 7 when she saw her mother beaten to death, lashes striking until the woman's lullaby turned to silence. Harriet never forgot the scarlet stains on the dirt floor, nor the way the moonlight framed the overseer's whip. A scar on her own wrist, cut by chains when she tried to pull her mother back, remained as witness. That scar was her reminder. She lived, but not untouched. Years later, she walks the Bellamy plantation as a woman of 27. Her eyes are sharp, unflinching. She carries silence like armor, speaking only when forced, always watching. The scar on her wrist catches the light when she serves, and whispers follow her. Harriet, the one with iron in her blood. In the dim glow of the slave quarters, Samuel carves wood with a dull blade. 19 shoulders narrow, but his hands deft, shaping birds from scraps. Shavings curl at his feet. He smiles, though weariness drags at his face. "You ever see a bird stay caged?" he asks, holding up the figure he's whittled. Its wings stretch as if frozen in flight. Even when you cut their feathers, they fight the bars. Harriet studies it, her voice low. "And if the cage is built too strong, then you break the cage," Samuel says, eyes sparking. He slips the carving into his pocket, close to his heart. "One day we'll fly too. I'll make sure of it." Harriet touches his shoulder, but her gaze drifts toward the mansion. A shadow moves behind lace curtains. Mistress Clarissa Bellamy steps into the hall, her heels clicking against polished wood. She wears her wealth like a costume. Silk, skirts swishing, fingers heavy with rings. Always at her collar gleams a cameo brooch, an oval face etched in ivory, pinned over her heart. She finds Harriet arranging platters of bread. "Back straight," Clarissa chides, lips curving in a smile that never touches her eyes. "A servant must show grace, Harriet. Smile, child. No guest wants to be served by a woman with thunder in her brow." Harriet forces her mouth into the shape demanded. The scar on her wrist burns as the tray trembles in her hands. Clarissa tilts her head, satisfied. There, prettier already. Remember, a woman's face is her service. A smile is worth more than any dish you carry. Harriet lowers her eyes. Voice quiet. "Yes, ma'am." Clarissa's perfume lingers, lavender with something sour beneath it. She glides away, the brooch catching firelight, and Harriet's lips flatten back into steel. That night, Samuel whispers to her in the dark, "Sister, we don't belong here. You know it. There's land beyond these fields, rivers to follow, stars to guide." Harriet keeps her voice even. "Stars can betray you, clouds can hide them. But not forever." Samuel presses, leaning closer. "Listen, I've heard men talking north of the river. Some runaways made it. They built new lives." "Runaways also hang," Harriet reminds him, eyes on the scar at her wrist. "You think the Bellamys will let us slip away without chains chasing us down?" Samuel pulls the bird from his pocket, presses it into her hand. "If you hold this, promise me you'll remember, we weren't made for cages." Harriet feels the rough wings under her fingers, carved by his faith. She closes her hand around it, not answering. Morning brings Clarissa again, this time in the kitchen. She watches Harriet prepare bread, her tone syrup sweet. "You'll serve at the feast, Harriet. Such an important night. Smile at the masters. Pour their wine steady. Make them feel welcome." Her eyes linger on Harriet's face, searching. "You do want to make me proud, don't you?" Harriet keeps her gaze on the bread knife. "Yes, ma'am." Clarissa steps close, her brooch gleaming between them. She brushes a strand of hair from Harriet's face, fingers cold. "Good girl. Remember, the smallest slip of temper, the faintest frown, and you shame this house. That would be very unwise." When Clarissa leaves, the kitchen air feels thinner, tighter. Harriet exhales slowly, eyes falling to the knife in her hand. The lullaby of her childhood hums faint in her memory, but now its notes bend darker, almost a warning. Later, Samuel finds her by the well. "You don't have to bow forever," he murmurs, glancing around to be sure no overseer hears. "There's strength in you, more than you know." Harriet looks at him, the bird still in her palm, its wooden wings worn smooth. "Strength," she whispers, "is knowing when to fight and when to wait." The night hums with cicadas. Somewhere far away, chains clink against the earth. The smithy glows red against the night, sparks leaping like fireflies from the anvil. The hammer falls steady, each strike echoing through the dark, the rhythm of chained men's hearts. Isaac's hands are black with soot, his arms corded with muscle. He works late, always late, long after the masters sleep. His voice is low and rough, but when he sees Harriet step into the doorway, it softens. "You shouldn't be here," he says, setting the hammer down. His words smell of smoke and iron. She glances at the shadows stretching beyond the forge. "And you shouldn't be working." Isaac smiles faintly, teeth flashing white in the firelight. From a pouch at his belt, he pulls something small, clenched in his fist. "I've been saving this." He opens his hand. An iron ring rests in his palm, uneven, forged from scraps, rough, imperfect, but whole. Harriet stares at it, her breath catching. "I made it from the same chains they lock us with," Isaac whispers. "Melted, bent, beaten, but it held. So will we." Her fingers tremble as he slips it into her palm. The iron is still warm. "You risk everything," she says, voice thin. He steps closer, the heat of the forge between them. "So do you. Every day you breathe here, you risk everything. Better to risk for love than just survival. For a moment, the world is only fire and the sound of their hearts." Harriet closes her hand around the ring, the scar on her wrist brushing against it. Days later, Harriet carries a tray through the parlor, pausing just beyond the doorframe. Voices drift out. Clarissa Bellamy and a neighbor sipping tea. Laughter. "Sharp as glass. Your blacksmith's strong," the neighbor says. "Built like Samson." Clarissa's laugh cuts smooth and cold. "Strength. A man is no stronger than the leash around his neck. I'll break him just like I broke his father. These men, they're born with fire, but fire burns itself out." Harriet freezes, blood pulsing hard against her scar. She clutches the tray tighter, the iron ring pressed into her palm like a brand. Later in the quarters, she whispers to Samuel, "They mean to break him. They'll try until there's nothing left." Samuel frowns. "Then we take him with us. When we run, we take Isaac." But Harriet's eyes are far away, fixed on the shadows. Running won't stop them. Not here. Not anywhere. They'll keep breaking, keep hunting, unless... Her words trail. The silence is heavier than the thought. Samuel doesn't push, but he watches the fire in her eyes change shape. Sunday brings the toll of bells and the murmur of hymns. Father O'Malley, thin and weary, stands before the congregation. His cassock hangs loose, his Bible worn, corners, curled from use. He lifts it high, voice rising, "Confess and you shall be cleansed." Later in the confessional, he listens as whispers slide through the lattice. A master's voice. "I whipped him till he bled. And yet, still he stares. At me, what am I to do with that defiance?" O'Malley's knuckles whiten around his rosary. "Pray for humility," he mutters. Another time, Harriet kneels in the box, her voice low. "Father, how long must a woman endure chains before God hears her cry?" He closes his eyes, torn. "Child, vengeance is the Lord's, not yours." "And if the Lord is silent?" Harriet asks, her tone sharper than prayer. O'Malley falters, sweat at his brow. He hides a folded letter in the back of his Bible, words of abolition he dares not speak aloud. His silence is his own confession. Back at the forge, Isaac holds Harriet's face in his calloused hands. "We could run, cross the river, head north." Harriet shakes her head. "Run and they hunt us. Run and they hang us when they find us." "Then what?" His eyes burn. "You'd rather die here." Her gaze flickers to the vials on the healer's shelf, to the roots drying in the smokehouse, to the bitter plants she's seen boiled for fevers. "Not die," she whispers. "Not run. End it." Isaac stares, not understanding at first. Then, the truth slides in like poison itself. His grip on her tightens. "Harriet, what are you saying?" She doesn't answer, only hums faintly the lullaby her mother once sang, but the melody now sounds darker, sharper, the tune of storms gathering, the clang of metal wakes the yard, sparks shower the dirt floor of the smithy. Isaac's hammer raised high, Samuel watching with eager eyes. The boy's hands tremble as he holds the half-shaped key. "Not like that," Isaac mutters. "Firm grip. You guide the iron. You don't let it guide you." Samuel tries again, sweat slicking his brow. The key bends, misshapen. Isaac sighs, steadying him. One day, this will open more than doors. But the lesson dies in his throat. The smithy door slams open. A shadow fills it. Thomas Calhoun, overseer, belly round with whiskey, eyes red and mean. His cracked leather whip dangles from his hand, stained darker in places no rain ever washed out. "Well, well," he drawls, lips curling. "Ain't this a pretty picture, the bird-carving boy learning new tricks?" Samuel drops the key. Isaac steps forward, chest heaving. He's just watching. He don't know nothing. Calhoun laughs, the sound raw. Don't matter what he knows, matters what he wants. He snatches Samuel by the collar, dragging him out into the light. Isaac moves fast, but the whip snaps across his back before he reaches them. The crack splits the air. Samuel stumbles, scrambling free as Calhoun shoves Isaac into the yard. "Thought you was clever," Calhoun snarls. "Thought you could trick your way out of here." He spits, whiskey sour. "Let's see how clever you are when the skin's stripped off your bones." By the mansion steps, Clarissa Bellamy sits with her tea, porcelain cup balanced delicate in her fingers. She doesn't rise. She doesn't need to. Her eyes glitter, the cameo brooch gleaming at her throat. "Proceed, Mr. Calhoun," she says, smoothly. "But don't kill him. Strong backs don't grow on trees." The slaves gather in a circle, men, women, children, drawn by the crack of the whip. Harriet pushes through them, her breath sharp. The first lash lands. Isaac's body jerks, but no sound leaves his mouth. Blood stripes his shirt, soaking fast. The second lash. The third. Calhoun grins, sweat dripping down his temple. "Cry out, blacksmith," he jeers. "Beg and maybe I'll stop." Isaac lifts his head, searching the crowd. His eyes find Harriet, steady, unflinching, though her fingers dig crescents into her palms. The whip falls again. Isaac coughs blood, teeth bared in something like a smile. Through broken lips he rasps, "Chains rust, hearts don't." The words slice through the silence. Even Calhoun falters, just for a moment. The slaves murmur, children clutching their mothers. Samuel's fists ball tight, tears streaking his cheeks. Harriet's chest heaves, but she does not cry. She only stares, the lullaby of her mother humming in her skull, louder than the whip. Calhoun sneers, raising the lash again. Clarissa sips her tea. "That's enough, Mr. Calhoun. Don't ruin him." The whip stills. Isaac drops to his knees, back shredded, blood dripping into the dirt. He lifts his face once more toward Harriet, a ghost of defiance in his eyes. Harriet takes a step forward, then stops. Her wrist burns with the memory of chains. The iron ring presses against her finger, searing hot. This is the moment. She knows it as surely as she knows her own name. Not running, not begging, poison. Her mother's lullaby folds into silence as the crowd disperses. Clarissa rises, adjusting her brooch. "Clean him up," she says coolly. "He'll be useful tomorrow." Harriet watches Isaac stagger, each drop of blood falling like a vow. Inside her the fire shifts shape. It will not be quenched. The nights grow heavier. Smoke coils from the chimneys, and the Bellamy mansion bustles with plans for the grand Thanksgiving feast. But beneath the surface other preparations stir, whispered in shadows, carried in the hush of voices too low for masters to hear. Harriet moves quiet as always, but her eyes linger longer in the fields, her hands stay longer in the kitchens. She is listening now, not for commands, but for secrets. Old Mabel sits by the smokehouse fire, bones bent, eyes clouded with age. Her pouch of dried herbs clinks faintly at her side, each root wrapped in cloth. The younger ones whisper that she speaks with spirits. Harriet approaches, careful. "I need something strong," she says softly. "Something that don't fail." Mabel lifts her head, studying her with a gaze sharp despite the milky haze. Strong cuts both ways, child. Fire warms, but it also burns. You ready for that, Harriet? Nods once, the scar on her wrist visible in the firelight. Mabel reaches into her pouch, draws out a brittle root, pale and twisted. Aconite, wolf's bane, bitter as sin. Boil it, mix it in fat, and it slides down easy. Masters won't taste it till it's too late. Ellen May passes by the smokehouse, humming her cracked lullaby. She pauses, catching fragments of words. Aconite, fat, too late. Her hands tremble on the bucket she carries, but she keeps walking, eyes averted. Inside, Harriet leans closer. Teach me. Mabel's voice drops to a rasp. Turkey drippings hide the bite. A spoonful is enough. But listen, girl, once you stir this, there's no undoing. Your name will turn to ashes or fire. Which do you want? Harriet's jaw hardens. Fire. Mabel presses the root into her hand. Then the fire is yours. Daytime brings Nathaniel. Bellamy striding across the veranda, cane tapping, gold pocket watch swinging like a pendulum. His voice booms as he instructs Jonas, who trails him with wide eyes. This feast will be remembered, Nathaniel declares. The Bellamy name shines. Brighter than all the rest. Punctuality, Jonas. Punctuality is the mark of a gentleman. He snaps open the watch, glinting in the sun. Every second counts. Jonas nods eagerly, though his gaze keeps slipping toward Harriet carrying jars into the kitchen. Later, when she slips dried roots into one, he squints, suspicion stirring. He steps closer, but Harriet turns, blocking the jar with her body steady as stone. You spying boy, she says evenly. Jonas swallows, kicks at the dirt. Just look in. Harriet's eyes pin him, then look elsewhere. He retreats, but his curiosity sharpens. In the corner of the yard, Sarah clings to Harriet's skirt. 8 years old, eyes wide, her ragdoll dangling by one arm, button eyes staring. You hum that song again, Sarah says, voice small. The one your mama used to sing. Harriet brushes her hair back, humming the lullaby. The child sways, eyes closing. Don't let him take you, Harriet, Sarah whispers. Don't let him. Harriet kneels, tucking the doll into Sarah's arms. Hold her close. She'll keep you safe. Sarah presses the doll to her chest. Harriet rises, the aconite root hidden in her apron. Nights stretch thin. Harriet carves small notches into wood scraps and leaves them for Samuel. Codes only he understands. 1 notch for danger, 2 for meeting, 3 for hope. Samuel finds them tucked under stones, hidden in cracks. He reads each one with care, answering in his own carvings, passing messages beneath the master's gaze. In the forge, Isaac stands shirtless, his back striped with scars from Calhoun's whip. His arms tremble with the weight of the hammer, but he does not stop. The blade he sharpens catches firelight. He whispers to Harriet when she visits, "If your plan fails, I'll finish it with this." She shakes her head. It won't fail. His hand closes over hers, calloused, rough, still. Steel waits, just in case. The night before the feast, Harriet kneels in her quarters. The carved bird Samuel gave her rests in her lap. She pries open a hollow she has cut in its belly, slips the small vial inside. The glass clinks softly as she seals it shut. She hums the lullaby, low, steady, the melody now a vow, chains rust. Hearts don't. Tomorrow fire will be fed. The Bellamy dining hall glows with firelight. The long table gleams, silver cutlery polished to a mirror, crystal glasses brimming with red wine. Roasted turkey dripping with fat lies carved in thick slices across platters. Candles flicker, their smoke twisting in the humid air. Voices swell, boasting laughter, the clink of forks against porcelain. The Bellamys and their guests raise toasts, wine staining their lips dark as blood. Clarissa sits tall at the head, cameo brooch pinned to her breast, eyes glittering like cold glass. Nathaniel puffs his chest, gold pocket watch resting on the table, as if even time itself bowed before him. Harriet stands behind them, jug of wine in hand. Her face is calm, eyes steady, hand unwavering as she pours. The liquid swirls scarlet into the goblets, her reflection warped in the curved glass. At the far edge, Thomas Calhoun guzzles whiskey, his cracked whip hanging at his chair. His laughter rattles like gravel. Near the doorway, Samuel kneels with Sarah. He pretends to make the ragdoll dance, its one-button eye wobbling. Sarah giggles, but her gaze flickers constantly to Harriet, sensing the storm that brews in silence. Toast rises. Nathaniel's booming voice fills the hall. To prosperity, to the Bellamy name. Glasses rise, liquid shimmering. To the Bellamy name. The others echo. Wine pours down throats. Forks scrape plates. The turkey is rich, savory, dripping with hidden venom. Harriet watches every bite vanish. It begins as a cough, small, harmless, brushed away with a laugh, then another. A man dabs at his lips, sweat shining on his brow. Calhoun pauses mid-drink, frowning. His hand trembles. The glass tips, whiskey, spilling across the table, running like amber fire. Hell's teeth! He sputters, clutching his throat. His face purples. He gasps, a wheeze tearing from his chest. His chair scrapes, topples backward with a crash. Nathaniel laughs at first. Drank too much, Tom. But the laughter dies as pain tightens his own throat. He claws at his collar, gasping. His gold watch slips from his grasp, hits the floor with a sharp metallic crack. Clocks don't stop, but men do. One by one, voices choke into silence, hands claw at throats, faces gleam with sweat, eyes bulge with terror, wine glasses shatter. On the floor, a fork clatters, echoing like a bell of doom. Clarissa freezes, staring around the table as realization dawns too late. She stands, hand flying to her brooch, the cameo gleaming in firelight. Her knees buckle, the brooch snaps loose, clattering to the floor beside Nathaniel's watch. Her lips tremble. What have you? She collapses, silk skirts pooling. Around her like spilled milk. Through the chaos, Harriet's lips move. Not prayers, not apologies. A lullaby, the same song her mother once sang as hands braided her hair. The tune rises low and steady, threading through screams and coughing. Sarah hears it from the doorway and clutches her doll tight. Chains rust. Harriet whispers, eyes locked on Clarissa's fallen body. But hearts don't. Jonah stumbles back from the table, wide-eyed. He sees Harriet, too calm, too steady, the jug of wine in her hand. His young face twists with fear and revelation. She did it, he shouts, voice cracking. She poisoned him! He bolts toward the door, legs pumping. Samuel lunges, grabbing his sleeve. The boy thrashes, slingshot tumbling from his pocket. Let me go, gotta get help! Samuel snarls, eyes blazing. You'll bring the whip back down on us all? The two struggle, knocking into the doorway. Sarah screams, clutching her doll. At the table, Ellen May stands frozen, silver tray in her hands, trembling. She sees everything, the choking masters, the calm Harriet, the boy wrestling at the door. Her lips part, a whisper clawing at her throat. She could speak. She could condemn Harriet with a single word, but instead, a lullaby slips out. Soft, cracked, the same she hums while polishing silver. It threads with Harriet's song, two voices weaving the same sorrowful tune. Ellen lowers her eyes, says nothing. Calhoun crashes forward, sprawling across the table. His hand smacks a plate, gravy splattering across the white cloth like blood. His cracked whip slips from his belt, falling limp to the floor. He groans once, then goes still. Nathaniel claws for his watch, but his fingers only brush empty air. His eyes roll back. His great body convulses, then slumps to silence. Clarissa gasps shallowly on the floor, hand reaching, brooch glinting. Her lips twitch with words unsaid. Her body stiffens. Her hand falls still. In the shadows, Isaac steps forward, his scarred hand steady. He grips Harriet's hand, grounding her as the room convulses in death. His voice is low, fierce. "You did it." Harriet's gaze stays locked on the table, the feast turned battlefield. "We did it." Around them, the last coughs fade, replaced by eerie quiet. The hall smells of roasted turkey, bitter smoke, and the copper tang of blood. Only the sound of Sarah's sobs and the ticking of Nathaniel's fallen watch remain. Tick, tick, tick. Time moves forward, carrying the dead with it. The feast ends in silence. The dining hall, once alive with laughter, lies heavy with the stench of death and spilled wine. Bodies sprawl across chairs and floors, mouths open as if still trying to breathe. Silverware glitters among broken glass, stained with blood and gravy. Doctors arrive before dawn, their horses foaming, boots muddy. They rush into the hall, sleeves rolled, carrying vials and powders. One bends over Nathaniel's body, presses fingers to his throat, shakes his head. Another pries Clarissa's lips, trying to pour tinctures between clenched teeth. Nothing works. "The poison's too deep," one mutters. "They're gone." The survivors groan on the floor, eyes rolling, bodies writhing, sweat streams down. Faces, stomachs cramp in grotesque spasms. The doctors shake their heads again, whispers spreading like fire. Poisoned, murdered in their own hall. By noon, word carries across the county. Planters ride in, their coats flapping, guns slung across shoulders. They gather on the veranda, furious voices rising. "An uprising," one snarls. "It's rebellion in our own homes. They must be made examples," another spits. "Hang them all, burn the rest if you must." Fear grows behind their anger. If one enslaved woman could poison a feast, what stopped others from striking in their kitchens, their fields? Paranoia spreads. Every cup of tea, every bite of bread now suspect. The Bellamy kin, distant cousins summoned by telegram, arrive, demanding vengeance. "Our name has been shamed," one cousin hisses. "Blood for blood." In the quarters, whispers pass from mouth to mouth. Harriet's name becomes a song. She sang her mama's tune while they choked. They say she fed death with her own hands. Some speak in awe, voices reverent. Others tremble, fearful of the lash that would surely follow. Children huddle close, listening wide-eyed. Sarah clutches her doll, humming Harriet's lullaby in broken notes. Night falls. Torches blaze as men storm the quarters. Boots slam doors. Harriet, Isaac, Samuel, and Mabel are dragged into the yard. Chains bite wrists and ankles. Jonas watches from the veranda, slingshot hanging limp in his pocket. His eyes are wide, guilty. Ellen May stands behind him, her hands trembling against her apron. Isaac growls as the whip cracks his back, but he doesn't bow. Harriet holds her head high, her scarred wrist glinting in firelight. Mabel mutters prayers, pouch of herbs torn. From her side, Samuel struggles, shouting, "You won't take me!" A fist silences him. The courthouse fills with heat and whispers. Planters crowd the benches, pressing close, faces red with fury. Harriet and the others stand shackled before the judge, their feet bare on the wooden floor. The prosecutor points a trembling finger. They poisoned good men and women. They spread terror among the white families of this county. Their guilt is plain. Jonas is called first. His hands shake as he takes the stand. His voice cracks. I saw her. With the wine. I saw her. Hand steady. The courtroom buzzes. Harriet watches him, unblinking. Jonas swallows hard, eyes wet. When Ellen is summoned, she stands slow, tray of memory still in her hands. The lawyer leans forward. "You worked beside her. Did you see her prepare the poison?" Ellen stares ahead. Silence. The lawyer presses. "Speak, girl." Her lips part, and instead of words, she hums the lullaby. Low, cracked, the same she. polished silver too. A chill falls over the room. "Answer," the lawyer roars, but Ellen only hums. She refuses to betray. The gavel slams. The verdict comes swift, heavy. Isaac, death by hanging. Mabel, death by fire, condemned as a witch. Harriet, public whipping, then hanging. Samuel, fate unclear, trial delayed. The Bellamy kin nod in satisfaction. "Justice served," they murmur. Harriet stands tall. She does not speak, does not beg. Her scarred wrist rests in the open, chains clinking like a bell. At dawn, the town gathers. The gallows loom. A pyre smolders nearby. Isaac is led first. He turns once, eyes finding Harriet. His voice is ragged but strong. Chains rust, hearts don't. The rope drops, his body swings, still defiant. Mabel stands before the fire. She spits at the men, muttering curses. Flames lick her skirts, rise into the sky. Smoke curls, carrying her voice upward. Then Harriet, stripped to her waist, tied to the post. The whip cracks, leather tearing skin. 10 lashes, 20, 30. Blood runs down her back. She does not cry out. She hums, low and steady, the lullaby. At last the rope. She is lifted, body swaying in the morning light. Her head tilts back, eyes open, as if still watching. The crowd shifts, uneasy. Her song lingers even in silence. When they come for him, he is gone. His chains lie broken in the straw. No footprints found, no trail. Some say he ran north. Some say he carved wings from wood and flew. The record holds nothing. His name vanishes like smoke. But in the quarters, children carve small birds from scraps, tucking them in pockets. They whisper Samuel's name like a promise. Time moved on, but the echo of that night never left Georgia's soil. The Bellamy mansion was scrubbed clean, the blood washed from the boards, the dining table polished until no trace of the feast remained. Yet beneath the shine, the memory festered. In the quarters, Harriet's name became a hush, a hymn, a warning. Mothers rocked their children by the fire and whispered the story, the woman who sang death into the feast. Some told it with reverence, eyes glowing with pride. She showed them, "We ain't chained inside forever," one would murmur. Others lowered their voices to near silence, speaking only with fear. But she brought fire, and fire burns us all. Sarah, no longer a child, carried the memories sharp as a knife. She would sit on stoops, ragdoll long gone, humming the lullaby Harriet had whispered. The melody clung to her, a ghost she never shook. Songs rose in the fields, carried on the rhythm of hoes striking earth. A verse passed from one mouth to the next. The feast of fire and poison. 12 men fell that night. A woman's hand did guide the cup. Her song the final rite. The ballad twisted, grew. Some sang 12, some 15. Some claimed she felled every Bellamy alive. Details blurred, but the fire of her act burned brighter in each telling. Whites told the story differently. In parlors and churches, the tale became a warning. "Never trust a slave woman with a smile," one planter would sneer, clutching his glass tighter. Preachers thundered from pulpits, "The devil walks in women who disobey their station." Poison is their whisper, rebellion their sin. Parents warned their sons, "Don't leave your drink where their hands can reach it." Fear settled deep. Every cup of tea, every meal carried a shadow. Harriet's scar, the iron shackle mark, on her wrist, outlived her body. In whispers, she became the woman with the iron wrist, a figure larger than flesh. Some said her wrist broke the rope that hanged her, that she walked away into the woods. Others swore her scar glowed red in moonlight, guiding lost souls to freedom. Children traced the mark in dirt, telling ghost stories. If you see her scar in the night, follow, it'll lead you north. Years later, men with pens and papers would argue numbers. Some said Harriet killed 12, others claimed 6 or 9. A few insisted it was nothing but sickness, that the feast was struck by bad meat, and rumor inflated it. But no account could erase the testimonies. Jonas's shaking words, Ellen's humming lullaby in court, the silence that followed executions. The truth blurred into myth. The woman herself became half legend, half flesh. When Sarah grew old, she still hummed Harriet's song. Grandchildren sat at her feet asking, was it true? Did she really do it? Sarah's eyes would soften. Her voice trembled, she sang, and the masters fell. That's all you need to know. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she wept. Always she hummed. In hidden corners, the story lived on. Harriet's act became a symbol. Rebellion carried in silence, resistance woven into lullabies. Some feared her, some praised her, but none forgot. The chains rusted, as Isaac said, and the hearts that remembered Harriet beat louder for it. History remembers battles, banners, speeches shouted from high places, but what of silence? What of the quiet rebellion that comes not with musket fire, but with a spoon, a vial, a steady hand? Harriet's justice was not loud, it did not thunder. Across fields, it crept in like breath, like lullaby, like poison, a weapon for the powerless, silent, patient, inevitable. There is a cruel symmetry in it. They gave her chains, she gave them aconite. They made her smile while serving. She smiled once more as they drank. The feast became her battlefield. The table, her gallows turned inside out. Her lullaby lingers still, not just as memory of grief, but as proof that rebellion can hide in plain sight. A song hummed while polishing silver. A carved bird passed from hand to hand, a scar on a wrist, symbols that whisper long after the body is gone. Oppression always breeds its shadow. Violence creates its mirror. History tries to forget these shadows, to bury them under ledgers and court records, to call them madness, witchcraft, sin. But the truth leaks out. It hums in the fields, hides in folklore, drips from the edges of myth. Harriet's story reminds us, fire does not always roar. Sometimes it waits in silence, sometimes it sings. If you were Harriet, chained in silence, forced to serve a feast to those who whipped your back, watching your brother dream of escape, your lover beaten bloody in front of you, what would you have done? Would you bow your head, wait for freedom promised in another life? Would you forgive, endure, sing lullabies until your voice broke? Or would you burn it all down? History is not written only in marble statues or gilded halls. Sometimes it is carved into scars, whispered in songs, hidden in acts so small the world almost forgets them. Harriet was not given a musket nor a banner. She was given fire in silence, and she chose to use it. What does her story stir in you? If this tale gripped you, if Harriet's lullaby still lingers in your mind, share it. Keep it alive. Like this story. Subscribe for more. Leave your thoughts below. Was she a hero, a monster, or both? Because this is not the last forgotten rebellion. Beneath America's soil, more stories smolder. Tales of resistance buried under time and fear. Next time we unearth another, will you be here to hear it?